Hey guys, it's me again, Jericwin Robredo.
And I'm James Dwayne. Welcome back to the
What the Facts Podcast. It's 8:56 p.m. here at Metro Cebu. Today marks the 5th day of February 2023.
and we're here again bringing you your daily dose of facts.
Yes, indeed. Who doesn't want to get their facts, right?
Yes, of course. Anyway, before we start anything else, let me ask you, partner, how are you feeling today?
Oh, not so good, partner. Everything is so expensive.
Indeed, inflation continues to accelerate further. Even bread is expensive.
So true, it saddens me so much, thinking about the situation of our fellow Filipinos. I heard from the news that the inflation has increased last month, way higher than in December.
Oh yes, speaking of bread, have you already read the story I told you?
Yes, of course, it was very sad. It makes me wonder what kind of life the author had, which made him able to write that story.
Yes, Mr. Goomer M. Rafanan is truly a talented writer. It is sad to know that we can no longer hear from him anymore.
But well, it's not too late to talk about his works, right? This episode is slightly different from the usual because we will be having guests who will join us today.
Yes, you're right, Jericwin Robredo. In today's episode of What the Fact podcast, we will be talking about the underlying facts from the story Isang Dakot na Tinapay and reflect its themes and elements into real life scenarios. Ultimately, this analysis discusses how 21st century literature portrays and affects our society today.
To officially begin, let me introduce our first guest of the day. She's a newly graduate of Bachelor of Arts in Literature from De La Salle University, who is currently starting her own work. Let us welcome Miss Missy Jane Reyes.
Hi, how are you feeling today, Miss Jane?
I am feeling great. I have been busy working on my first novel.
That's nice to hear. What was the inspiration behind your first work?
Well, as a young aspiring writer of the 21st century, I wanted to reflect on the themes that are evident today. As a Filipino, I have always wished to shed light on the issues of our motherland. Hence, when I first read the story Isang Dakot na Tinapay, I was instantly captured of the many literary authors I had known. The late Gomer M. Rafanan was one of the greatest authors in the Bisaya language. He won numerous awards and contests throughout his years, and with many of his published works, especially this short story which really struck my mind. From there, I decided to take inspiration from Mr. Rafanan's work.
That's good to hear, Miss Jane. By the way, how would you describe the story Isang Dakot na Tinapay? Can you give us a brief overview of the story for those who haven't read it?
So, the story follows a poor boy who resorts to stealing from a bakery to survive. He later joins a group of delinquents and becomes involved in a crime syndicate. During a bank robbery, he meets a young kid who reminds him of himself. However, the story ends with tragedy as he lost his life trying to save the kid.
Oh my. It is a truly tragic story, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. It has certainly moved the hearts of many, whether they are a casual reader or not. Moving on with the literary text, we would like to hear more from your critical analysis as a writer, Miss Jane. Can you help us analyze the story from a literary perspective?
Sure, let us begin with the 21st century literary theme present in the story. Social evil is highlighted throughout the literary text, wherein the main character experiences suffering and adversities because of poverty and injustice. Both of these issues are reflected in the story. We can see the evidence of poverty from the main character's experience, which is depicted in the way he lives on the street, scavenges for food, and lives in no permanent shelter, while injustice is evident in how other people treat him, which shows a lack of compassion. Knowing the theme deepens our understanding of the characters living in poverty and injustice who were forced to make difficult choices in order to survive. Hence, we are able to understand why they act in a certain way.
This is seen in the difficult decision the character makes, such as stealing and getting involved in heinous crimes.
That is correct. Moving on, I would like to talk about the literary elements of the story. Firstly, the protagonist is a poor boy that has grown up to become a criminal. On the other hand, the antagonist in this story is somewhat ambiguous. as the main conflict is more about the protagonist's struggle against societal expectations. Furthermore, most of the remaining characters serve as stock or symbolic characters. For example, the young kid that the protagonist meets in the bank robbery symbolizes his past self and the reflection of his past actions. Secondly, the story setting is a bakery and a bank in a modern city. Thirdly, the story revolves around the conflict of man versus society as seen in the struggles that the protagonist faces as he lives in a city where poverty and injustice are evident. Lastly, the story makes us of a third-person omniscient point of view to portray the experiences of the protagonist.
Now, I believe it is time to wrap up our session with you, Miss Jane. Thank you for joining our podcast.
Thank you for sharing your expertise with us, and good luck in your journey as a writer, Miss Jane.
Thank you for having me here, guys. I hope to meet you again in the future. Goodbye and have a great day.
It was good to hear from Miss Jane's perspective, right, James? I've learned a lot more about the story because of her. I really like the plot and how it reflects the current situation of the Philippines under the state of poverty and injustice. It triggered a lot of mixed emotions in me through its use of descriptive words, which made me emotional and empathetic to the experiences of the characters.
The literary elements that the author used in the story are spectacular as well. They evoke strong emotions, reveal powerful dynamics, and create a surreal visual representation of poverty and injustice, as well as its effects on society. These elements help us deepen our understanding of the social issues that are still present in society.
I admire the author's choice of setting the story. The way he uses the city to capture the chaos that occurs in society is outstanding. Since the story is set in modern times, he also makes the use of social issues that are present today. His choice of setting allowed the plot and conflict of the story to escalate, bringing out a meaningful narrative.
Oh, same. I would also like to add about the characters. Even though the name of the protagonist stayed anonymous until the end, I can always feel a sense of connection with him. Although he strayed away from the right path with all of the crimes he committed, I can't bring myself to hate him. I think it is because he wanted to have a better life, but because of poverty, no opportunity was given to him. In order to survive, he had no choice but to enter into criminal activities.
Yes, I really like to see characters like this. Having protagonists on the downside of things teaches us a lot of valuable lessons in life. It teaches us that no one is born evil, but it is the society that affects and shapes the behavior of every individual. Although we can justify his actions, his characterization is a reminder to all of us that under certain circumstances, anyone can become a villain.
And the most amazing thing to me is his character development at the end of the story. He was a criminal, ready to commit all forms of crime, yet he turned away from it just to save the kid from the open gunfire, even if it had cost him his life. It teaches us that it isn't too late to change for the better. In the end, his worldview changed as he witnessed the harsh reality that other children also experienced. He rediscovered the pain through the eyes of the other kid who lived with the same suffering as him. In that situation, he realized that the children suffering did absolutely nothing wrong to deserve this kind of life, and in his last moments, he wished to save them the same way he wished to be saved.
Okay, that's enough because I'm already starting to sub. Hoo.
It's okay. How about we'll talk about the things that we didn't like about the story?
There isn't anything to dislike in the story, but I guess I should say that I still wish that it ended differently.
Why is that so?
I just wish that the protagonist was given more chances to redeem himself.
Oh, definitely. It is no surprise that many of us still find that ending hard for the heart. It is truly tragic.
Moving on with today's agenda, I guess it is time to proceed with our favorite portion of the podcast. It's fact check time.
Unlike previous episodes, we have also invited another guest who will be helping us verify the claims of facts. Let us have a round of applause for Mr. Jerictroy Leomero.
Thank you for having me here, kababayan.
We are delighted that you're able to attend today's episode despite your busy schedule.
No worries, everyone. I'm always one call away.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Now so you can get back to your day. Let's start with the claim of fact number 1. the inflation of the Philippines is continuously increasing.
Fact. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, inflation has continued its uptrend as it accelerated further to 8.7% in January 2023 from 8.1% in December 2022.
Claim of fact number 2. More than 15% of Filipinos live under the poverty line.
Fact. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority's latest report in 2020, the poverty incidence in the Philippines was estimated at about 16.7%. Poverty is just as prevailing in real life as it is in the story Isang Dakot na Tinapay. In the story, there were a lot of scenarios that showed the existence of poverty. One of them was when the child stole a handful of bread because of his hunger. The story attempts to tell its reader that poverty isn't just an issue featured in literature, but a real life problem that is affecting many people. In communities where poverty is widespread, it can lead to increased crime rates, social unrest, and reduced economic growth. This can eventually create a vicious cycle where poverty perpetuates itself. Addressing poverty is necessary to ensure that people have access to their basic human rights, including food, shelter, education, and healthcare. By addressing the issue of poverty, the country can improve the standard of living for its people and build a stronger and more prosperous society that promotes equality.
For the final claim of fact, you are a volunteer of a non-governmental organization.
Fact. I am part of the Angat Buhay Foundation spearheaded by Attorney Robredo. One of our objectives is to help the underprivileged Filipino who are under the poverty line. Solving poverty in the Philippines requires a collective effort from individuals and society as a whole. As a volunteer of the Angat Buhay Foundation, one of the programs I have participated in is the livelihood programs. Angat Buhay provides livelihood opportunities for disadvantaged communities such as training programs in farming, handicraft making, and other income-generating activities. We also provide startup capital and linkages to markets to help individuals and communities sustain their businesses.
Slay. Truly agree with your statement. Thank you for your time once again, Mr. Jerictroy Leomero.
We hope for the best of your endeavor, Mr. Jerictroy.
You're welcome, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you for being one call away. I'm only one call away. I'll be there to save the day. Superman got nothing on me. I'm only one call away.
Wow, what an
Call me
amazing...
baby
Oh,
if
you're
you
not yet
need
done.
a
Okay.
friend. Oh,
Oh, okay. What an agonizing here. Amazing choice of song, James. Certainly, 21st century literature continues to surprise us in its ways, in depicting and influencing our modern society one story at a time. Behind the fictitious world of books is a mirror of facts that reflect the real world. Fiction or non-fiction, literature with its diverse use of themes and elements never fails to provide us a deeper look into the reality we live in.
we hope that you guys have learned a lot from our podcast. Before we bid our farewell, let us leave you a reminder. The lessons we learn from the stories we read should not be kept hidden or trapped between the pages of the books. Let's carry these lessons into our daily life for the better development of the society. I guess this ends today's episode. Once again, I am James Dwayne.
And I am Jericwin Robredo. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to always fact check.
And we'll see you again next time here in What the Fact Podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.